Thank you, Andy. Andrew.
Yep, no problem.
So I'm all set now?
Yep, you're streaming right now. So you should be good to go.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. Hey, Andy.
Hey, how are you doing?
Somebody was setting up my live stream for me.
That's cool.
Huh. See, sometimes it doesn't work. I hit promote to panelists for Stephanie, but it didn't work.
Yep, I'm in.
Oh, good. Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing well. Let me see. There we go. I thought I would try to get in early, so I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to be doing a few things until we get started.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks.
I like your background.
Oh, thanks. It's a Michigan State campus. It's the Red Cedar River that
That's
runs through
pretty.
the campus.
Very pretty.
Thanks.
Allison, I'm making you co-host right now.
Okay, great.
Oh, wait. Wrong one. Here we go. And we're already live streaming, so we're all set.
Awesome.
I'll wait till everybody else is here before I introduce you.
Okay.
And I've already let in, as you can see. Are you familiar with clicking back and forth between panelists and attendees to see the two different?
Yes.
So yeah, you'll see. I already let Andy Smith and Stephanie Tillerson into the meeting.
Okay.
Hey, Dinos.
Hey, David, how are you, my friend?
Good. I'm sitting here incognito still.
Not a problem. Did you have a good weekend?
Very good.
Good.
Had an out of town guest that I got to play tour guide with.
Oh,
I
good.
went out to Middleton Plantation, Middleton Place.
Man, it was a beautiful weekend.
Sure was.
Just gorgeous. Did y'all eat at the restaurant out there?
How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Hey,
Sorry,
Paul,
we're-
how are
We're
you?
just chatting away.
Kalispera.
Kalispera, ty kanis.
Yeah, I
Bravo.
I grew up in Greece. So
Did
I moved
you?
here when I was in third grade. So my Greek isn't all that great, but it's good.
Oh, it sounded pretty good to me. Where in Greece did you grow up?
At Europolis, it's right outside of Athens.
Oh, yes. We were there 2 years ago, actually, Athens and the island. My father is from the island of Skopelos in the
Okay, yeah.
Northeast Aegean. You know what Skiathos is?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I know where Skopelos is.
Yeah, Skopelos is a beautiful island, visiting. Very nice.
Where are your parents right now? My parents are actually in Athens visiting my grandmother.
Oh, how
I know.
wonderful.
Yeah, she's 91 years old. So
Oh, God
much
bless
fun.
her.
That's
great.
Wonderful. Great.
Dinos, I don't know if I told you I've been to Greece. Long time ago in the 80s.
Yeah.
Went to Athens and Thessalonica.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the town. We came in from the ferry from Brindisi on the west coast.
I think like all you guys, I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Just sitting there in the tavernas, just drinking and eating. That's the way they spend their day, right, Paul?
yeah, just the taverna. That's where they're
Yeah, Keithy.
going usually.
Yeah, just grab a little bit of ouzo, sit there all day, drink a little Turkish coffee. Or excuse me, in Greece, it's Greek coffee, right?
Yep. Nescafe.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn on my video.
There you are. Now, did you tie that bow tie, David?
I did. It's a
That's
real thing.
beautifully done.
Thank
I went
you.
to a formal event last night, and I think Sherry was going to lead me if I had not tied my bow tie one more time. But,
Is everybody here? I wanted to introduce Allison. Allison's our new preservationist planner,
hey, Allison.
and she's going to be driving the meeting tonight for
Hi,
letting
Allison.
people into the panel and so forth. But just wanted to introduce you to her. She's our newest staff member.
Welcome.
Welcome. Hey, Erica.
Thanks. Nice to
Hey,
meet y'all.
Dinos.
It's a,
I made it through the drive-through at the Greek festival.
wait, did you really?
I did.
Did you? Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was wonderful.
Sorry I didn't make it.
Well, that's all right. We'll just double charge you in the spring, David. But
I'm going to
You
go
guys-
ahead and hit record, everybody. Just so you know, we're ready to start any minute, in about a minute.
Okay. The Greek festival is twice a year, in the spring and in the fall?
we started it this year. We did I'm going on record now. We did a fall festival this year, which was just a drive-through, Stephanie, because of COVID.
Mhm.
And we're going to do the spring festival, which is probably going to be the full-blown again this
Oh,
coming
nice.
spring.
Okay.
So you guys put in, I will be much more easily accessible since you're going to be walking around. So y'all come find me at the Euro booth.
Yes.
The light. Hey, Ben.
I went 2 years ago and it was about 95 degrees and poor Dinos was working over the hot coals.
I'm getting too old for that, David, I tell you, but I keep going back. I don't know what it is.
I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And we could get started whenever you're ready, Erica.
1 second. Good evening or afternoon, I guess, and welcome to the October 18th meeting of the City of Charleston's Design Review Board. My name is Erica Chase, the board chairperson. Members of the board with us tonight are Dino Sliolio. I think everyone's present that's supposed to be, but Aaron Stevens, Andy Smith, Stephanie Tillerson, Ashley Jackrell, and Ben Whitener. Members of city staff present are David Meeks, Allison Hill DeLong. Allison, did I say that correct?
DeLong Hill. I
Hill
may-
DeLong. Yep, you said it right. Hill
Oh, okay,
DeLong.
great. Thanks. And Andrea DeRungs. We do not have any board members that are recused from any agenda items this afternoon. And agenda item number 1 was deferred by staff, which is 1861 Bohicket. The order of the meeting will be as follows. David will give the project overview or any context for new projects. Then the applicant and their team will have 10 minutes for a project presentation. If additional time is needed beyond 10 minutes, if the applicant could let me know, please, at the start of their presentation. Everyone from the applicant team should clearly state their name for the record. We will then have time for board questions and then public comments. Then city staff will give their recommendations, and then the applicant team may respond or clarify to public comments and city staff comments. Then we will go into board discussion. During board discussion, the applicant may only clarify any inaccurate information when recognized by myself or a board member. And then the board will give a motion and a vote. So if everyone could please silence or turn off our cell phones or any devices that may make noise during our meeting. I do want to remind everyone that comments from the public are limited to the site design and architecture only. Our board does not have authority over zoning issues such as land use, building density, flooding, or traffic. With regards to our virtual meeting protocol, David will be controlling the PowerPoint, or sorry, Allison will be controlling the PowerPoint presentation, which includes everything submitted by the applicant by the deadline in accordance with the submittal requirements. Applicants will need to ask staff to advance to the next slide during their presentation. Applicant, staff, and board members are required to give their name whenever speaking. The video and microphone have been disabled for all attendees. Attendees will only be given the capabilities to speak when they are called on during the public comment period. Chat and the Q&A functions have been disabled for everyone. David, I don't believe, do we have anyone registered to speak other than the one public letter we received?
Correct, just the one public letter to be.
Okay.
read. And I wanted to clarify something. I will be the one driving the presentation. So if people need me to advance the slides, they can ask me. Allison's was letting participants into the meeting. So.
Okay, got it, thanks. I'll skip over what's not applicable since we have no members of the public registered to speak. Staff will be issuing the meeting results, including staff comments and the board motion to the applicant following the meeting. Results will also be posted on the city website shown on the screen. And for additional information, there's an email and a website for further information. And I do want to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded. So with that, we will get started with item number 1, 2310 Henry Tecklenburg Drive, requesting conceptual approval for a new Dominion Energy electric operations building.
We have seen this before, but I did want to just show anybody who hasn't seen the project where this is located. 2310 Henry Tecklenburg. You can see the red arrow points to where this is. And then this is a bit closer view. And the boundaries, I'm sorry, I didn't draw it in, but it's approximately right about here. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. I'm not sure who's going first. Keith?
Yes, it's Keith Clark. I will speak a majority of the time tonight, and I apologize. Last time when I was up, I had computer issues and I could not speak at all. So
That's right.
did it differently this time. David, if you wouldn't mind advancing, I think it's about 6 or 7 deep. What I'm going to do is focus on the landscaping first. I'm going to focus on the 7 comments from the board and the 7 comments from staff. So here on the landscape plan, one of the comments was a request to I'll say and develop the understory of when we clear out, we're keeping a majority of the trees that are on the perimeter, but we are going to clean out the understory. And then we wanted to, or the comment was to plant it more with native materials or native plants to the Charleston zone. And so Jody Furman, our landscape architect, has done that. And I'll let him speak in just a couple of minutes. But I wanted the comment was on Tecklenburg Drive to make sure we plant the understory, which we've done now. We have a large right of way there that Dominion Energy has, and we have a small berm, but we've increased planting a lot in and around the berm, including there was a comment to add some wildflower seed, which we have done in the right of way. That's the very prickly images or very prickly hatch that you see there. And we've done that on both the Savage Road side as well as the Tecklenburg side. David, if you wouldn't mind going to the next page, L002, those are the pictures of the more native materials that we plan to use. And David had made a comment that, you know, after we get the understory cleared out and the plantings still don't screen what the committee feels we should, or the board feels we should screen, we have no problem enhancing that once we visually see that areas we need to focus on. That is of zero concern to Dominion. They'll be glad to do that. Let's see, if you could go to AG 310, it'll be more towards the end. Yeah, this is now that right there. This is the image from Savage Road side now, and it has more native materials. Plus, you see the fence there. The fence is not screened, but it will be planted with Confederate jasmine, 4 feet on center, and the vines will wrap up the vertical pickets of the fence. And we are doing that on all 4 sides of the property wherever we have fence. So the big question about the screen will be the actual gate itself. Obviously, we can't screen that with the plantings. I know you guys know that. But other than the pickets, we don't have a screen today on the actual moving sections of the fence, unless that's something that you want. The other thing while I'm here is that David made mention that we're not allowed to have yellow bollards, protective bollards. So we've painted all the bollards green. They may be black at the end of the day. I think that was the 2 options, but we hear you that we're not allowed to have yellow. So I think that's what I wanted to basically cover from the landscaping piece now, is our attempt to really protect that understory from a screening standpoint. And when we get into the Q&A, if y'all have questions of Jody, then we will answer it then. Now I'm going to go to the building. David, if you wouldn't mind going to AG 904A. Okay, the comments here were before on the warehouse building, which is to the left. We had a shed roof, low part to the plan west, high part to the plan east. And then we had a gable roof over the main office building. The challenge was to make the 2 roofs marry more in the overall architectural scheme. And so we've put a gable on the warehouse roof now. We've raised it slightly so that we had proper clearances. The other comment was that the main entry, it was a much more, I'll say, prominent architectural feature. And the thought was that it should be in more scale with this type of building because it's not a public building. So what we've done is basically just taken a slice out of the roof. We've raised it approximately 3 feet above the main roof, mainly so that it says entry to those occupants of the building. And then simplified it greatly. We've moved the fence line where it interacted with the building from a security standpoint. And again, that fence line is going to have Confederate jasmine all the way, 4 feet on center, and it will eventually grow in. The other comment about this image was to make the screen, the outdoor eating area for the occupants of the building, to make it more translucent. And so before we had a precast wall in front that faced Tecklenburg, we have reduced that to just columns now. And then we have spaced out the structural elements of the horizontal canopy a little further apart than what they were, until the daylight is certainly going to come down through the canopy. The other comment on the elevation was, before we had a brick applied to or laid to the precast panels, and the challenge was to possibly remove the brick and just have precast. We have done that in this scenario, and there's other images that will go all the way around, but I'm trying to be respectful of my 10 minutes. But we have removed the brick from the precast. I will say that the owner really desires to have brick on the building because their other crew quarters have brick, but they really need to advance this building from a schedule standpoint for them, because they have it budgeted to build next year and they don't really want to let it slide into 23. So they are willing to not fight that, but that is still a request from them, is they would love to have brick on the building. The other challenge on this architecturally from the board was to make the brackets at the roof, I'll say, make more sense. You not putting words in the board's mouth, but they make more sense with the facade. And so what we did on the tilt wall was we took the accents of the precast, let them go vertically through the horizontal reveals of the panel, and they show up much better on the elevations than this one particular image here, but to let the reveals receive the brackets up at the top of the wall. The brackets also serve as a hiding element for the roof drains as they come, or for the gutters and downspouts as they come off of the building. So I believe that quickly addresses the comments from the board and from David in the previous round. So I will pause now and ask if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the board members have questions?
Erica, can I say one more thing? I forgot one thing.
Sure.
And it called it in the left-hand piece there of the vehicle storage building. Before, we had it as a split face CMU skin on the truck shed building, and we have now changed that to precast. Go up one. We have now changed that to precast, to where the truck shed, the solid elements of the truck shed and the office building now complement one another better. Also, you can't see it here, but on the back side of the slope of the vehicle building here, we have a 100% offset on this site from a solar standpoint, and all those panels will be on the back side of that truck shed here. The very next page identifies that, which you probably already saw, or one more page, I'm sorry, in the roof plan of this right there. So that back side of the truck shed is a solar offset for the project. Now I'll pause. Thank you.
Sure. Any questions from the board? With none, David?
I had a graphic question. I had just a quick question. If David, if you could go to the rendering, perspective rendering.
Main building?
Yep, of the main building. It's the one looking towards the front. Is it that one? That there, right there. So go back to the one you were just at, and then go forward again. Is the color of the roof really changing like that, or is that
I think that's just a sun angle. It's a dark bronze roof. It's not a brown roof. A dark bronze roof is the color that they put on all their buildings. It's a standing seam metal.
It's dark bronze, not a.
Yes, sir.
It's not a brown.
It's not brown. It's dark bronze.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? With none, David, staff comments, please.
Thank you, Erica. Excuse me. Staff observations. The applicants have addressed all the staff and board comments and have made nice progress on this project. The color palette we really like. The roof forms and the tower element were simplified and made more successful. The landscape has been added to and enhanced. So staff does support the design of the building and the site. A couple staff comments. Staff comment number 1, regarding the pergola design at the patio. With the length of the beams spanning over the patio around 22 feet, the addition of pilasters or engaged columns on the exterior wall to visually catch the ends of the pergola structure are suggested. I do have a example I'd like to show. So referring to here, let me show you the next image. So these would actually be against the wall underneath, where each one of these pilasters are. I guess you could call these pilasters. We were wondering if the addition of a half of one of these bases and then a half of a column being added to the wall might enhance the look. And then staff comment number 2, very simple, just to provide a volley detail. I did notice on your images of the shed, I saw that you are showing the 4-inch, about a 4-inch reflective band at the top of these dark bollards, which is good, but we just like to see a detail. But with that, staff does recommend preliminary approval. This was actually, they're seeking conceptual approval, but we thought they were far enough along that we were going to recommend preliminary approval with the final review to come back to the board. But then staff always needs to see the final MEP permit set at the same time they're submitting for permitting. So I'm suggesting preliminary approval with final back to the board, and then at a later time they would submit MEP set to staff just for final sign-off.
Thanks, David. Does the applicant team have anything they'd like to respond or clarify to?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. We are now in board discussion and or a motion.
This is Andy. I do think the landscape has developed. I think my original comment was not to plant wildflower in there, but to try to push the height limit of getting some more verticality in that right away. And I still feel like there's some verticality that's needed in landscaping. That said, I'd be willing to, forbear that. And I think they're heading in the right direction. But I do continue to challenge them to get some more verticality in this landscape design. I'll put it to the rest of the board, but I know that staff is trying to move the project along, but normally we see a lot more building sections and in this package. I'm not real sure that it's ready for preliminary yet. I mean, I'd feel comfortable with conceptual, but I'm not real sure about preliminary at this stage.
This is Dinos. And first of all, thank you, Keith and Paul. I mean, y'all certainly have responded to the board comments and to staff comments, and excited to see this become a neighbor of ours in the Charleston community. From a design standpoint, I really have no other comments. I think y'all have addressed everything that I had mentioned before. I do agree with Andy. My fear is that it's always a safeguard for the applicant to come through that preliminary approval first, so that we can get a sense of the detailing and really a good concept of the color palette. Although I know it's simple, it'd be nice to see it in a formal format. Just, I think, would save the applicant potentially time delays if you go to a final submittal and there are issues that might mandate a resubmission. But I too would support conceptual approval with a couple of comments.
I agree. This is Erin. And I agree with Andy's comments that I think, I don't think it needs to hold up conceptual approval by any means, but I do think with the landscape, the wildflower is probably not, well, first of all, it's not clear what that means really, because the plant schedule just says wildflower mix. And I'm concerned about that long term. It'll often die out and not come back and not be maintained. So I'd look for something with a little more structure, a little more verticality. But I don't think that needs to hold up the approval. I just would like to see that addressed in the next submittal.
Yeah, and I think I'm fine with preliminary for the building. I think I agree. Landscape's probably not there yet, but I would certainly support conceptual.
Any other comments or motion?
Well, this is Dinos. I would be willing to go forward with a motion for conceptual approval with staff comments 1 and 2 and board comment regarding landscaping. And Erin and Andy, please help me here, more verticality as opposed to the wildflowers. Am I catching that right?
Well, I mean, I think you can keep the wildflower as Aaron says. We need more definition as to what that means. What is in that mix, but to add some verticality to both the right of way and to the landscape in general, and to provide better definition of mixes planned for the project. Aaron, does that?
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think that covers what my concerns.
That it, Dino?
That's it.
Okay. So I have a motion for conceptual approval of staff comments 1 and 2 and board comment to provide more definition to plant mixes and also add verticality to the right of way and landscape in general. Is there a second?
I'll second this, Andy.
Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Okay, Andy has a second. I will now call roll. Sorry, before I go to call roll, is there any further discussion needed? Okay, with none, I will call roll. Erin?
Yes, in favor.
Stephanie?
Yeah, in favor.
Ashley?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes, in favor.
And I am also yes in favor. So thank you all very much. And we will move on to item number 2, which is 1521 Savannah Highway, requesting conceptual approval for a new car dealership building.
Thank you, Erica. Got just a little bit of context so everybody can see where this is. You can see 1521 Savannah Highway with the red marker. And a little closer view. It's on the corner of Mark Field and Savannah Highway, adjacent to the new Porsche dealership that was completed within the last couple of years. And then even a closer view yet. You can see where 1517 Savannah Highway was the existing fire station that they already received approval for demolition last year from the board. And here's a view of the fire station that, honestly, I'm not sure if this has been removed yet or not, but it will be if it hasn't been. And this is a view from across the street looking north on Markfield. Is that how you say the street? I'm sorry. Yes, Markfield. And then this is the site here. And then this is going away from the city, and the site is over here on the right. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. So it can be Billy.
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Billy Bishop. I'm an architect at EVA. Here to present the new AMR, which is the Alfa Romeo, Maserati, and Rolls-Royce dealership. We'd like to thank Tommy Baker, who is also on this call, for his input and the opportunity to work with his organization once again. We'd also like to, we also appreciate the input that we've received from the DRB staff to get to where we are today. Starting with, can we go to C100? I think that's the fourth slide. Yep. So starting with the existing conditions, as Mr. Meeks just pointed out, the site was originally housed the old IHOP on the corner of Markfield Drive. To the right of the site sat the old fire station, which has recently been relocated. Both of these structures have been demoed in preparation for this upcoming project. To orient you, to the right of the fire station is the new 2-story Porsche dealership. Across Savannah Highway is the existing 2-story Chrysler dealership. And to the plan left is the site sits across Markfield Drive is the 2-story Honda dealership. And you'll see this context later in the presentation. If you can go to C200, that's the next slide. Moving, so with the site located on a traffic lit corner, we saw this as an opportunity to anchor the corner with a new 2-story showroom structure, which will also mask the parking. The 2-story structure, which is mostly glass, will feel light and airy, allowing for visibility through and around the structure. The special nature of this building will be in the details to enhance the visual nature of the brands by controlling and staging the lighting both during the day and at night. The site contains 82 ground spaces, and due to SCDOT's comments that we've already received, access to the site will be limited to Markfield Drive and the neighboring Porsche site. If we could go to A100, the floor plans, I think that's 2 more slides. Yeah. So moving to the floor plans, the first floor entry is angled, giving a movement to the facade while controlling sunlight and providing a covered entry. As you can see on the entries on the lower side, yep. The space is a 2-story showroom with vehicular displays on both floors, accessed by an internal elevator and ceremonial staircase. Beyond the showroom are areas for lounges, finished selections, offices, and 2 detail bays. The second floor houses a similar layout with an additional break room and mechanical well to mask HVAC units from all directions. And then if we can go to the streetscape sheet, one more. So on the streetscapes, you can see that we have the existing context. And then on the lower slide, it shows the proposed AMR dealership with a similar massing while anchoring the corner of the site. And then we're going to go 2 more to the perspective. Yeah, right there, the first perspective. So moving to the rendering perspective, the front elevation curtain wall angles out towards Savannah Highway, almost reaching out to the road, drawing passersby to look into the showroom. The metal panels are radiused at the corners to soften the building. The corners, along with the integrated lighting, are detailed in a way that is purposeful, similar to that of automotive design, right down to the integration of the building signage into the structure. The second floor will step back from Savannah Highway, allowing for unobstructed glazing at the front and views from the second floor down to the first. And then if you can go 1 more slide. So this view is from the lit intersection looking down Markfield Drive, standing on Savannah Highway. So we feel that this is a beautiful addition to Savannah Highway, and we look forward to any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I think while we're talking about elevations, one thing was confusing me earlier today. I think your north arrow is actually shown in a different place from where it is on the survey. So that confused me when I was looking at the elevations. Yeah, so north is actually where I think you call east.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So you definitely want to change that next time.
I apologize.
It's all good. I was confusing myself looking at it. I was like, wait a minute, that's not the south elevation. Anyway, that was it.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, this is Dinos. And thank you, Billy. I was just curious. Can you talk to us a little bit about context, a little bit more, the overall context, any ground figure evaluation that y'all may have done, anything that inspired you to place the building on the street corner?
Sure. So, we felt that none of the other buildings on this intersection are really addressing the corner. And we felt that with it being a lighted corner, we felt that it was really important for us to actually embrace that and actually anchor the corner to be the first to do so. I just feel like that's a good practice to do so. And it kind of defines the entrance to the Baker, their campus. So pulling this forward kind of anchors it and starts the entrance to their area. And then as far as the context, as far as height goes, we wanted to play around with what the height is of neighboring buildings. I know we don't always get the opportunity to, or, we always try to push the building as close to the road as possible in most contexts. So we felt like it was appropriate in this as well. The other thing too, placing this on the corner gives the opportunity, like I said in the presentation, that we can carefully craft and light these vehicles when you're sitting at a red light. So you can take an opportunity to admire them these are very high-end luxury vehicles. So it's nice to be able to have a controlled environment up close that people can visualize these on display.
Any other questions?
I'll chime in with one. It relates to some public comment that I think you might be sharing later, but we had an opportunity to read a written statement. Could the applicant share about the process they went through in partnering with the community? It sounds like there might have been some engagement meetings to get you to where you are today in the design.
We have mostly worked directly with the owner on this. We have not had too many conversations with any neighboring on this.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board? With none, we do have one letter or email that was submitted from a member of the public. Have all board members been able to read the letter, or should I read it out loud as part of the record, which I'm happy to do?
I've had an opportunity. Oh, I was going to say, I've had an opportunity to read it.
Okay. Andy, what were you saying?
I was just echoing the same thing, that
Okay.
I had an opportunity to read it.
Okay. David, was this email shared with the applicant team?
I don't believe it was, and I was just sitting here thinking that maybe.
Okay, I may read it just because in case we go into any items during board discussion, I'm going to go ahead and read it. But it's from Charlie Smith, 333 Wapu Road. Dear DRB, thank you for the opportunity to comment. Residents of West Ashley appreciate it when an applicant goes the extra mile to design a building that improves the overall appearance and functionality of our neighborhoods. The concept presented here achieves that. The siting of the building close to the corner is important to residents, and that it necessitates any driveways being pulled back further away from the intersection. This will eliminate some of the potential for problems like what we see as Savannah Highway intersects with Coburg Road and Wapu Road. Cars cannot enter these intersections from the adjacent properties when traffic stacks up at the lights. Continues on about traffic, which we're not purview to, but what the design presently lacks is a strong vertical element that defines it as a corner landmark building rather than a building that without that vertical feature seems more suited to an interior lot. The vertical element of the Rodenberg's building in Avondale comes to mind as a way that we have seen a vertical element used to break up what otherwise would be a monotonous streetscape along Savannah Highway. The restored towers at Blessed Sacrament, the flag at the Chevrolet dealership, and even the steep blue roof of the proposed building's IHOP predecessor all serve that purpose. Corner properties like this one lend themselves to that verticality even more so than interior lots. The DuPont area, which begins at Markfield, lacks the vertical elements that define the Avondale area so well. We don't have to have the TWA terminal at JFK, but just something that you can see in the distance. Plan West Ashley notes the importance of the sense of place that is so strong in Avondale, in which we should try to achieve in other areas of the community. 1521 Savannah Highway presents a great opportunity to do that. It is also important to note that Markfield Road, Betsy Road, and Wapu Road are the only 3 access points to all the subdivisions from Harrison Acres to Edgewater Park. Markfield has a greenway connection with a water feature that, with a few enhancements, could make it one of the more popular destinations along the 8-mile path. Markfield Road, like Betsy Road and Wapu Road, was also once lined with oaks. Replacing them where it is reasonable to do so, to do that along Markfield would improve visual connectivity from Savannah Highway to the neighborhoods. All of these points make 1521 Savannah Highway a very important corner that deserves special care in how it is designed. I hope you will agree. Thank you for your consideration. So that is the completion of all public comments received, and we did not have any members of the public registered to speak. So with that, David, staff comments, please.
Thank you, Erica. Just a brief staff observation. Staff feels this is an interesting and unique design. A few staff comments. Staff comment number 1, low screen walls along Savannah Highway would be consistent with other dealerships along this corridor and would form an edge between the public and private space that would otherwise be an open expanse, and would also cleanly define the parking or the display area. Thus, we ask that low knee walls be incorporated into the design along Savannah Highway. Staff comment number 2, staff asked if another material was considered for the solid portions of the building, such as concrete or stucco. Staff comment number 3, please check all graphic scales on the drawings as several are incorrect. Staff comment number 4, staff suggests looking into burning the power poles in the right of way, as these will take away from the design of the building. Or a more decorative pole could be used as the traffic signal, which I assume would need to stay there. Number 5, one of staff's comments to the applicant's pre-DRB submittal was that we were questioning the building being up on the corner when all the other dealership buildings are set back with the cars in the front of the building. But this current building position does allow for driveway entrances off both streets to be set back from the intersection of the maximum safe distance. So staff could support the building being up at the corner. It also breaks up the continuous cars that are on the street at the other dealership location, and also provides something interesting to look at when sitting in traffic. The building location and site plan has gone through TRCS for variance approval of tree removal. Staff number 6, at preliminary review, please provide 3D rendering with the plants included in front of the building, as their placement will be an important part of the building design. Please also include the sidewalk that extends out to Savannah Highway in the renderings. With that, staff does recommend conceptual approval.
Thanks, David. Billy, did you or your team have any items you would like to clarify or respond to from public comments or city staff comments?
No, not at this time, but we appreciate all those comments and we will definitely look into them.
Okay, thank you. We are now in board discussion and or a motion.
This is Dino's, and I guess I can kick it off for a moment. First of all, Baker Motors and Baker Corporation investment into the phenomenally improved visual of Savannah Highway is so greatly appreciated. Just traveling down Savannah Highway as I do at the minimum of 4 times a day is just really enhances and provides a certain serenity in this stretch, dealing with all the cars going down. And they certainly maintain it magnificently. I mean, it is just immaculate. And of course, it doesn't hurt to have the artistry of these beautiful cars sitting there for everyone's eye candy to just enjoy and visualize. But I struggle with the location of the building, and I understand city's staff's position. But David, I had shot over a couple of issues. These are extremely rough. There's a very interesting pattern language going on in Savannah Highway along this way, as you can see. And I know that a lot of it is predicated on dialogue and discussion previously. I guess that's one of the benefits of 4.5, 5 years on the board, of the discussions on what we can do to enhance and improve just the aesthetics of Savannah Highway. And as I shared previously, certainly Mr. Baker and his wonderful staff have contributed greatly to that endeavor. But there is a pattern where all of the buildings are set back. And it goes on like that for quite a distance. And if you look at what I think is the next slide, there's a little bit of just looking at ground figure to just begin the process and thought of how siting might be. It's suggesting strongly that hopefully there is a solution that's available, much like the Porsche dealership, that might allow safety regarding egress from both Markville and Savannah Highway with the building set back. But there is a definitive language there in a sectional study as well that I just really believe is important to be consistent. And hopefully that's the last slide that I shouted over David. The language is strictly street, sidewalk, vegetation, small wall or small vegetated wall, open area, and then the vertical building. And it truly has been successful as we've been seeing the ongoing evolution of this area, particularly with regards to the car dealerships. So I guess the first thing that I struggle with is placing the building on this corner in the manner that it's placed. The second issue is getting back to one of the comments that the applicant made. And David, could you go back to the rendering?
Sure.
That's fine right there. One of the things that you have to so greatly appreciate when it comes to the Maserati, to the Alfa Romeo, to the Rolls Royce, is just the extent of detail and craftsmanship that are associated with the car. I really do believe that, again, whether it's the Porsche dealership or the Infiniti, the expansion and addition, all of those begin to really what I consider capture the sleekness, the feel, and this is an attractive design. But what I feel is lost is the translation of this craftsmanship. With all due respect to the applicant, in the sleekness of the product. Is it a curtain wall or is it frameless glass? I mean, if you're going to really be talking in that degree with respect to a relationship between craft and building and product, I think those are important pieces in dialogue to have. The other issue deals with the structural aspects. Obviously, structure is an important piece of the overall concept, and I don't see anything. I don't know how far the structural dialogue went, but for instance, I'm not sure that I understand the corner, which I guess would be the northeast corner, where the building departs from the main frame. It's actually on the other side. Can you go to the other perspective for a moment? There we go. Where it departs from the main structure and recesses back. I would anticipate that there's is some rather significant, potentially structural elements there. The structure is such an important part. Considering again the presentation and what we've heard here, and I fear that I don't know if that has been considered to the nth degree that at this point with the conceptual approval that we should be looking at. So my issues are twofold. One of all, I do believe that there is a pattern language that strongly exists already along Savannah Highway that should be respected. And the other issue is just the reinterpretation of the building. The glazing is great, the transparency is great. I have no issues with the material. I think the sleekness of the facade and the manner that the facade is clad in is very nice. But again, there's just more detailing that at this point that I would truly like to see. So that's all that I have. And
Thanks,
thank you.
Dinos. Any other comments?
I have a few comments. If you go to the elevations, David. Yeah, right there. So not west elevation, but south elevation, I guess number 3. So I work right down the street from this building. We're at 44 Martfield, so I drive down this road all the time. I feel like three facades have been designed, and this facade that almost all the residents behind me off of Martfield from all these neighborhoods coming to work are going to see this facade. So to me, that facade needs a lot of work. It's the back of house. I understand, but we certainly don't want to be able to see PVC roofing. And you probably won't be able to in the perspective, but I would expect to see that as a parapet, potentially maybe scuppers there instead of downspouts. But just the same care you took to the architectural, the language on the 3 other facades, that you do the same on that south facade as well. Let's see. So that's one thing. I would consider, and this solves with if you push the building back like how Danis was suggesting, but that corner, it's full of that huge power pole. And I think staff made a comment to potentially remove the power pole, but it's a very dangerous intersection anyway. I know we're not commenting on that, but yeah, you went past that image of the power pole there, David. Yeah, right there. I mean, it's really cluttered right along that intersection. So even that, I mean, I don't even know that angle going back, bisecting the site. I'm sure you're going to have to do something with that power, but you know, I would consider pushing it back, at least pushing it further back from Markfield, pushing the building further back. And maybe that sets it up for more trees, like the letter from a resident made a comment about. I guess I'm okay with metal, but I don't know about white metal. That always concerns me in Charleston with weathering of white metal, white anything really. And the maintenance, as long as Baker knows that they're going to be maintaining that and cleaning it a lot. I would consider that wall that Dinos was mentioning. I would consider bringing it further down Martfield too, maybe at least as far, maybe even further than the Honda dealership across the street. And I'm sure you guys know that big 18-wheeler trucks always miss that corner. So that's another reason you're probably going to want to push your building back. They're always having to patch the corners where the 18-wheelers make a tighter corner turn than what DOT gave them. So I guess those are my comments.
Thanks, Ben. Any other comments?
This is Andy. Go ahead.
No, Andy, go ahead.
No, I just, I guess I'm going to echo the comments that we've had before about really studying the position of the building. And I think that if you're determined, or if your determination is to move it into this corner, I think I echo the letter, is you really need to do something that truly anchors that corner. You know, that I feel like you've kind of, I understand that it's a car dealership and the intent is to show cars, but I think that you have the structure on the wrong side of the building here. I think that the corner is really what would be important from the public realm point of view. And the opportunity to create an icon there is really something that you should study. I also would suggest continuing the wall, as Dinos has indicated, and I really would suggest taking a real careful design look at your landscape palette as you come back to this project, and to really focus on plants that are beneficial to the community and the area. I don't want to go, nitpicking at a conceptual level, but I really do think the palette needs some study. That's all I have.
So I love the concept of almost treating this like a jewel box and something for the community to look at and kind of Google at these cars, because many of us will never drive one. But to be able to enjoy the look of them, I think that's a great feature. And maybe that's part of the design of the building. And I'm not necessarily following along on all the comments of where we're not hitting the mark there as a layperson, but one of the things that's confusing for me, and I have this conversation frequently with members of the public, is this idea that we want the buildings all right up on the road. And so right down the street, we have the new Whole Foods, where the shopping center was rebuilt back in the original footprint, but then we have the two retail buildings right out front on the street. And so, having a better understanding of when that's appropriate and when it's not appropriate. I mean, I guess this isn't really a pedestrian corridor, even though we have the sidewalks and whatnot. It's far more vehicular. I guess because from where I sit as a layperson, the more current style seems to be that we want the buildings up on the road. I don't have as much of an issue with that, except for, what Ben was mentioning as far as just like the utilitarian aspects of it. You don't want to be so far out that you're going to be at risk of having a carrier run into your building. So certainly we need it to be sound, but I'm willing to be open-minded on that. And I think it's a great looking building, and excited to see how this develops as they move forward and take our comments to heart.
Madam
Thanks,
Chair.
Ashley. Yep, go ahead, Stephanie.
And Madam Chair, I will echo what everyone said. I think the idea is that follow the rhythm of the street. And right now, the rhythm of the street has been set that where the buildings are currently located has established that rhythm. And by placing this building right at the corner would disrupt that pattern, maybe cause it not to really flow that well. And as an urban planner, yeah, I always support trying to move the buildings up closer to the road, but I agree that Savannah Highway is a busy road, and while we have sidewalks there and encourage people that have to use other modes of transportation besides vehicles to get to work, they need sidewalks, be able to walk and bike. This is not really that village feel where you really want to crunch things up to the road. So I'm not quite sure, because I guess this application is the second come back to this board. So I don't know if the applicant got the impression that we wanted this brought up to the road, or if this is the first time we've had an opportunity to look at it being this close up to the road.
Yeah, this is the first time the board's seen this project.
Okay. So, from the applicant standpoint, pardon me? I'm sorry. Oh, Erica, oh, it's your daughter. So I think just the comments that everyone echoed is that I applaud you for, kind of thinking about maybe bringing this up to the corner. That corner has this, a light there, so people will, sit there and look at, as said, kind of eye candy, but it might be not the best placement for this particular corner. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Stephanie. Any other comments?
If there are no comments, I'd be willing to make a motion just to keep the conversation going. I really do believe that context dictates, and as Stephanie said, she's right. There's a rhythm that is occurring along Savannah Highway, and the rhythm has been successful from all the way at Parkwood Estates as it's continued on down. And I don't believe that we should disrupt that rhythm. And I know this architectural firm has significant architectural talents to still provide a structure that will be befitting of the product that it's actually going to be housing. I would move for denial of the application with restudy both of site and building to ensure that we maintain the rhythm of the that has been established, and a building that reflects the craftsmanship and quality of the product that it's housing, and associated landscape palette that.
Sorry, Dina, hold on one second. Could you back up a little bit? I have denial with restudy of the site and building to ensure the project maintains the rhythm established.
The urban rhythm that's been established along the highway.
Okay.
That the building reflect the craftsmanship of the product that it's housing. Including the structural expression and a landscape palette that supports both.
Okay, hold on one second. Denial with restudy of a site and building to ensure the project maintains urban rhythm established along the highway. The building should reflect the craftsmanship of the project it houses, including, I lost you after that.
Oh, I'm sorry. And a landscape palette that supports both.
Got it, okay. So we have a motion for denial with restudy of the site and building to ensure the project maintains an urban rhythm established along the highway. The building should reflect the craftsmanship of the product that it houses in a landscape palette that supports both. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Stephanie. I will now, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that, I hear where you're coming from, but I don't know that I would go as far as a denial on this one. And so I'll probably be going against the flow of the room, unsurprisingly, I'm sure. But, we're 0.3 of a mile from buildings that are set on the street. We're 0.6 of a mile from the Whole Foods, project. So I think we're sending a mixed message here, even though in this little stretch of the road, I do agree with you that there is a pattern there. I guess it's just the concept of, forward moving. Do we want the buildings on the street or do we not want the buildings on the street? To me, I like that it's on the street and almost serves to hide the parking lot aspect that, you know, a lot of our members of the community complain about. It's just a sea of cars. All you see is cars when you're driving down the road. So, you know, for all of those reasons, that's where I'm going to land on this one, but totally respect the opinions of the room as always.
Thanks, Ashley. Any other further discussion? With none, I will call roll. Aaron,
No, not in favor of the motion.
Andy,
Yes, in favor of the motion.
Stephanie,
In favor of the motion.
Ashley,
No.
Ben,
I'm torn, but I'm gonna have to say yes.
I am in that same boat, Ben. And I will also say yes in favor of the motion. So with that, we are moving on to agenda item number 3, approval of minutes from the October 4th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Thanks, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Ben?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Ben. I will now call roll. Dinos,
Yay in favor?
Aaron,
Yes, in favor.
Stephanie,
Yeah, in favor.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I am also yes in favor. And that concludes our meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Great work today,
Thank you.
guys.
Good night. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good night,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Y'all
night.
too.
All right.
Mhm.